In this video, I'm going to be talking about my top 30 games of all time, from 30 to 21. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Clayton, and in this video, I'm going to be continuing my video series where I count down my top 50 games of all time. If you haven't checked out the other two videos in the series, I'll have them linked in the description box down below, so feel free to check those out after this video. With that being said, I know it's been a while since I last uploaded those videos, and that is because I've been playing a lot of games, checking out a lot of new games, but now I finally have my final 30 games locked in, and I'm happy to continue with the series. Keep in mind, this is my list, and if you feel like you guys know some other games I should check out, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you're new here, typically how I do my top 10 list is I pretty much just talk about games really quickly so I don't waste anybody's time. And I generally try to keep my videos under 10 minutes or so. So if you like that, please feel free to subscribe. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. Starting off at number 30, we have Quacks of Quedlinburg, a push your luck bag building game where you need to pull out the correct amount of ingredients before you pull out too many cherry bombs. What's really neat about this game is there's a nice catch-up mechanic, so if you are in last place, you kind of get a bump to where you start in your potion brew, hopefully giving you the edge in the next round. If you love bag building games and you haven't gave Quacks of Quedlinburg a try, I highly recommend to give this one a try. I absolutely love it. Push your luck, bag building, both really great mechanics that work really well together. There's different abilities for each ingredient, and you can switch them up if the game feels too familiar. Personally, I just love push your luck games, and that is why this one is sitting at number 30. 29, we have Arkham Horror, the card game. Personally, one of my favorite horror games of all time. In this game, you will need to approach each scenario carefully and plan on how you want to spend your resources and determine the outcome. There's actually so much content for the game, and it can be so difficult at times, but so satisfying when you successfully complete a test and win certain scenarios. Horror mystery with a good amount of difficulty. That is Arkham Horror. Now let's move on to the next game. Project Elite. Fight against waves and waves of alien enemies in different scenarios. This is a cooperative real-time game where there's only 8 rounds. Now normally I'm not a big fan of real-time games, but how this one works cooperatively and how everyone are spending the actions and you only have 2 minutes to figure out what you're gonna do really makes this game really intense, and it brings a super fun factor to the game. Just everything about this game works for me, down to the last great looking miniature, to the different scenarios and how difficult they can be. Just another great cooperative game. Highly recommend this one, at least to give it a shot, even if you're not the biggest fan of real-time games like myself. Now next up, I have Creature Comfort. Now you know I like worker placement. This is more of a dice placement game that is super family friendly. Get ready for winter as you take different actions to gather items and food to make your home cozy for the winter. With Creature Comfort being a dice placement game, it has a very unique mechanic in it where you don't know your dice rolls before you roll them. You actually only know 2 of your dice, and the rest of the community dice are shared between the players, so you have to hope those dice work out in your favor to get the resources that you need to get the items that you want to score points in this game. And what makes it family friendly is if you don't get the resources that you need, you get a lesson learned token, which is a cute little band-aid symbol to help you either add or subtract dice rolls to get the number that you want for future rounds. It's very much an entry-level game with a twist on dice placement, and my family just simply loves this game. Super adorable, and that is why this one is sitting at number 27. Town Builder Odin. Now I'm not too sure if too many people know about this game. This is by First Fish Games. And I do have the Kickstarter Deluxe version with me today. This is a card drafting game that makes the points so close together, it's always a tight race at the end of the game. Pretty much what the game is about is each player is in charge of a district of a city, and you're trying to make the best version of that district that you can. There's certain judges that reward you points based off the different colors of the cards, and on your turn you're taking 2 cards, one to either be a foundation or for a resource to help build that card. Super fun and super competitive card drafting game. If that sounds like your style and you haven't heard of this Town Builder Odin, I think I'm pronouncing that right, I could be wrong, I highly recommend to check this one out. You don't need the deluxe version, there is a smaller box if you need it, but this one does come with a playmat, and it's really nice. Definitely a great card drafting game, check it out. And if you like card games, I highly recommend to check out Smash Up. This one is a crazy amount of fun, guaranteed to be a good time. And in this game, you're playing different factions on bases to try to score that base's victory points. Each card in the game has their very own unique ability, and each faction plays off each other to give you an edge. I always have a good time with Smash Up. It's guaranteed to hit at any game night, especially if you're newer to board games. I highly recommend to check out Smash Up. There's tons of expansions for it. You don't really need the base game. You can just pick up a few expansions and you're good to go. And I do believe they just dropped the 10-year anniversary for this game, so that might be worth checking out. At number 24, we have Horrified, another great cooperative game where you fight against your favorite classic monsters. There's actually two different versions of this game, Horrified, where you have to defeat classical monsters, and Horrified American Monsters, where you guessed it, you have to defeat American style monsters. Both are great in my opinion. I think American Monsters is a little bit more difficult, but you can adjust the difficulty of these games by adding more monsters in. You're trying to save the village people, bring them to different locations, gather different items, and each monster in the game has a different way to defeat it, making it very unique. Now, I know I put a lot of cooperative games on this list, but that is basically the games that I get to play most of, because I feel like it is a lot of fun working together than working against each other. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love competitive games, but for this list, I went with games that I do get to play more often than not, and that just so happens to be cooperative games. That being said, this next game is not cooperative, so let's move on to the next one. Feast of Odin, just an incredible worker placement game where there is just so much going on. I do believe there is something like 60 or something worker placement spots in the game, so you're never going to be blocked when it comes to placing your workers out with this. However, in this game, depending on the spot will determine how many Viking workers you will need to use for that action. There's also boards you are trying to gain and cover them up with tiles to gain victory points. Now, on those boards are negative victory points, so if you don't cover them up, then you're definitely going to lose a lot of points. So there's a puzzle that you got to solve to figure out what tiles you want to gain. It's kind of like Tetris in a way where you're trying to fit different tiles to fit a certain way on your player board. Now, there are two different game lengths when it comes to Feast of Odin. You can play a shorter version of the game or a longer version of the game. And for my purposes, I do like to play the shorter version because I always like to try to play more than one game when I do have a game night, try to fit as many games in as possible. But with the short version and the long version, you'll get the same experience of it. It's a fantastic worker placement game. It feels very different than a lot of other worker placement games. And I always find myself trying to figure out a different way to win every time I play this game. It's just a fantastic worker placement game that constantly has me thinking of how to cover up my player board. Now, speaking about Vikings and worker placement, my last two games on this list happen to be also worker placement games, but this next one is also a Viking themed game, and that is Champions of Midgard. Now, I do think you need both expansions to get the full gaming experience out of this game, which I don't like to really say because you don't always need to buy an expansion to make a game better, but this game does have you eliminating your dice that you work so hard to get, and when it comes to the Valhalla expansion, there's at least a way to get those dice back. When you lose those dice, you get a token and you can spend those tokens to get your dice back. So it's a little bit more forgiving than if you just have the base game. And with the Dark Mountain expansion, it opens up a whole nother area for you to go and fight monsters, which can get you a lot of points. So you don't always have to rely on either buying a boat or taking the public boat to go fight a monster. Plus, I feel like you do get the best dice in the game out of the Dark Mountain expansion. Those dice can actually hit for 3 points instead of just a normal 2 that you get with those other dice. It also helps you get food, which you do need food if you plan on taking those ships to go on a journey to fight those harder monsters to defeat them, because you have to feed your workers, I guess, after all. But it's just a fantastic worker placement game. I have a lot of fun every time I play this. I will admit, I'm not the biggest fan of the blame mechanic, where if you have to fight this orc, and if you don't, then you get blamed for it. So it does award players that get there first to try to defeat it. But even if you don't defeat it, if there is a hard orc to defeat, then you get blamed as well. And if you get a lot of blame, then you lose a lot of points. So I do wish there was some type of way to lower that blame in the game. But regardless, it's been out for a long time, and if you haven't played Champions of Midgard, it might be worth picking up. Now, coming in at number 21 is a game that feels a lot like Champions of Midgard, but why I put this one above it is because I absolutely love the artwork, and there's certain different modes that you can play with this game that I think makes it better than Champions of Midgard. And that is, of course, I'm talking about Tidal Blades. Now, this is the Kickstarter Deluxe version of the game, which also helps making the game more deluxeified to enjoy it, but I don't think you need the deluxe version to really enjoy this game. The modes that I am talking about, why I like this more, is when you get to play with public goals instead of secret goals. I find the game gets a bit more competitive because every player is going to be fighting to get those public goals, to get victory points, instead of having a secret one that no one really knows about. It's not as competitive, I find. Plus, I also like playing the 5-round mode in this one instead of 4, and I also really enjoy the player count at 3 players. With all that being said, that is why I like this one more than Champions of Midgard. If you ask me to play this at 4 or even 5 players, I might say I'd rather play Champions of Midgard. But in this game, you are still fighting monsters. It's still worker placement. You're still rolling dice. You still lose your dice when you fight monsters, but it is a lot of fun to play. Fantastic artwork, and in the game you are competing to become the next title player. Each character feels very unique in their own way. There's also a deck of cards that the players have to give them extra abilities. There's a lot going on in this one, a lot more, I feel like, customization when it comes to your character as well. I absolutely love this game. I always have fun when I play it, but I do wish there was some type of mechanic in it where you don't have to lose your dice all the time when you go fight a monster. It has a lot of things going for it, and it's definitely worth giving it a shot, even if you just pick up the retail version. But I just simply think it's a fantastic game. I'm very excited for when Tidal Blades 2 comes out, which that one is more of a dungeon crawl game. I know a lot of people prefer dungeon crawl than worker placement, so maybe check that one out if it's interesting. You don't need to play this one to play that one. I'm very excited for that one to come out and explores the world more behind this game, which I think is fantastic. I love the characters, I love the world building, again, love the artwork. So if that sounds interesting to you, check that one out as well. And as always, let me know what you guys' favorite games are in the comment section down below. Hopefully when it comes to my next top 10 list, you guys don't have to wait so long. I did spend time trying to figure out each game that I wanted to put on this list, and I think I finally have them all locked down. So I'll catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.